Hello, everyone. This is Lexicon Architect coming at you with another budget commander list for my series. Um, it is in the evening here. It's around 8:40 p.m. EST, but I really wanted to do this video today, um, and I already have another deck lined up for tomorrow that I'm going to build tonight after I'm done with this stream. So let's get into it. So this deck is called Party Time because we are playing a party deck. So let's get into it. Let's look at the commander. So our commander is Nalia D. Arnis. She's a 3-mana Orzhov commander that allows us to look at the top card of our library at any time, and we may cast clerics, rogues, warriors, and wizard spells from the top of our library. So her cool ability is if we have a full party at the beginning of our combat, we will put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control, and those creatures will gain Death Touch. So if we swing in with a few creatures at different opponents, they're going to be hard pressed to block with one of their better creatures because they don't want it to die. So we might be able to sneak in some damage here and there. If they do block for whatever reason, their creature will die too unless it has indestructible or if they give it protection in any way. But other than that, we're pretty good. So for the creature package, we're going to be playing Archivist of Ogama, a 2-mana 2/2 with flash that whenever opponent searches their library, we may gain 1 life and draw a card. Then we're playing a 1-mana spell called the Archpriest of Iona. It is a creature with power equal to the number of the creatures in our party. And then at the beginning of our combat, of our turn, if we have a full party, we can give a target creature +1 and +1 and flying. We're playing Burakos Party Leader, a 4-mana 2/4 that is every creature type for our party. And then whenever it attacks, defending player will lose X life, and we create X treasure tokens where X is the number of creatures in our party. So if it's 1, we deal 1 damage, make 1 token, 2, 3, or 4, and we will get that many. Bygone Bishop is a 3-mana 2/3 with flying. So whenever we cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, we will investigate and make a clue, which we can pay 2 to sacrifice to draw a card. We're playing the Changeling Outcast because it is a Changeling and it cannot be blocked, and it cannot block. So this helps us. Elas is a 2-mana 2/2 with Death Touch. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under our control, you gain a life. Whenever another creature we control dies, each opponent loses a life. It is a cleric. Frontline Medic is a 3-mana 3/3 with an ability called Battalion. So as long as we attack with it and 2 other creatures, they will gain indestructible. And then for whatever reason, we can sacrifice this to counter a target spell with X in its mana cost unless its controller pays 3. We are playing Gandalf the White, a 4-mana 3/3 with Vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell, creatures you control get +1/+0, and we scry. And then whenever it dies, you may put it into its owner's library, 5th from the top. We're playing Gisa, Glorious Resurrector for 4 mana, a 4/4. If a creature an opponent controls will die, exile it instead. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, put all creature cards exiled with Gisa onto the battlefield under our control. They gain Decayed. So once we do attack with the Decayed creatures, they will be sacrificed at the end of the turn, I believe. And then we're playing Grim Harrowspect, which is a wizard. It's a 3-mana 3/2 with a morph ability. But whenever a non-token creature whenever another non-creature you control dies, draw a card. We're playing Grim Hireling, a 4-mana 3/2 that is a rogue that says whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create 2 treasure tokens, and then for 1 black, we may sacrifice X treasures to give a target creature -X, but we can only do it as a sorcery. Then we're playing Harper Recruiter, a 3-mana 3/1 with flying, that whenever it attacks, you may look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard from among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of it in any order. Then we're playing Laezel, a 3-mana 3/3 that says if you would put one or more counters onto a creature or planeswalker you control or on yourself, put that many plus one of each of those kinds of the counters on that permanent or player instead. So if we do have a full party with our commander, this is going to give us an additional counter on all of our creatures. Then we're playing one of the best cards from the Lord of the Rings set. I did build this as a commander, and it was pretty damn cool. So this is a 2-mana 2/1 that whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, you lose a life and create a treasure. So not only does this account our opponents, but it also counts ourselves as well. Then we're playing a 2-mana 2/1 that says whenever it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life. You gain X life, which is the number of the creatures in your party. Then we're playing Metropolis Reformer, a 3-mana 2/3 that is a cleric with flying and vigilance. It gives us hexproof. And then whenever it is dealt damage, you gain that much life. Then for 2 mana, we're playing Mindblade Render. It is a warrior, and it is a 1/3. And it says whenever opponents are dealt combat damage, if any of that damage was dealt by a warrior, you draw a card and lose a life. Then we're playing Mirror Entity, which is a shapeshifter. It is a 3-mana 1/1, but its X ability is amazing because it says until the end of the turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX and gain all creature types. We're playing Mother of Runes. It is a 1-mana 1/1 cleric where we can tap it to give a creature we control protection from the color of our choice until the end of the turn. Then we're playing Nighthawk Scavenger. It is a rogue. It is a 3-mana flying Death Touch lifelink, and its power is equal to +1, the number of card types among cards in your opponent's graveyard. So this counts all of our opponents as well, not just one. Una's Blackguard, 2-mana 1/1 with flying. It says each other rogue creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. And then whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. Then we're playing Priests of the Ancient Lord, mostly to gain 1 life and draw a card, but it is a cleric. We're playing Rumor Gatherer. It is a wizard with an ability called Alliance. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, we can scry 1. And if this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, we will draw a card. Then we're playing Seasoned Dungeoneer. It is a 4-mana 3/4 that when it ETBs, we take the initiative. And then whenever we attack, target attacking cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard gains protection from creatures until the end of the turn. It explores. Then we're playing a 2-mana 2/1 cleric that has flying that we can sacrifice to give all of our creatures indestructible until the end of the turn. Then we're playing one of my favorite cards, Squad Commander, which is a 4-mana 3/3. I used to have a party deck in Standard, and this was the card that won me a lot of games. So when it ETBs, you create a 1/1 Core Warrior creature token for each creature in your party. And then at the beginning of combat on our turn, if we have a full party, all of our creatures will get +1/+0 and gain indestructible. Then we're playing Tenacious Underdog. It is a 2-mana 3/2 warrior that has a blitz ability, which we can pay 4 and 2 life, and then we may cast it from the graveyard using its blitz ability. So if we do have extra life to use, we can continuously recurve Tenacious Underdog, because once it dies, after being blitzed in, we will draw a card. And then finally, we are playing an Aristocrat card that is a rogue, Zulaport Cutthroat, 2-mana 1/1 that whenever it or another creature we control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. For sorceries, we're going to be playing Coveted Prize because this spell will cost 1 less to cast for each creature in our party, and then we can search our library for a card, put it in our hand and shuffle, and then if we have a full party, we may cast a spell with converted mana cost 4 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost. We're playing Cut a Deal because although it does allow each of our opponents to draw a card, we can either draw 1, 2, or 3 cards depending on how many of our opponents are left. We're going to play Drown in the Ichor for removal. 2 mana gives a creature -4/-4, then we can proliferate. Read the Bones is for card draw, so we will scry 2, then draw 2, and then lose 2 life. We are also playing Savine's Reclamation, a 3-mana sorcery that we can return a target permanent with mana cost 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. And if we do cast this from a graveyard, with its flashback ability, we may copy the spell and choose a new target for the copy. We're then playing Sign in Blood to draw cards, and then we're playing Thwart the Grave, which costs 1 less to cast for each creature in our party. Then we can return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield and up to 1 either Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard. And then, for instance, we're going to be playing Anguish Unmaking to exile target non-land permanent. We lose 3 life. Clever Concealment allows us to convoke and phase out any number of permanents we control. Dark Ritual for ramp. Deadly Alliance, because it costs 1 less to cast for a creature in our party, and we can destroy target creature or planeswalker. Spark is here to exile not control the human. We will lose life equal to that creature's toughness. Flawless Maneuver, is a 3-mana instant that will be free as long as we control our commander. Don't have our commander, we could just pay 3 for this, and our creatures will gain indestructible. We're playing Fracture to destroy any problematic artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. Path to Exile for removal, Swords to Plowshare for removal, and Unbreakable Formation to give our creatures indestructible. And if we do cast this during our main phase, we can put a 1/1 counter on each of our creatures, on each of those creatures, and they gain vigilance until the end of the turn. As far as artifacts go, we are playing Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Flower Stone, Marble Diamond, Mind Stone, Orzhov Signet, Soul Ring, and Talisman of Hierarchy for our ramp. And then for protection, we are playing Lightning Greaves and Swift Boots, and Skull Clamp is in here to draw us cards. If the creature equipped with it will die. And then for enchantments, we're going to be playing Call of the Ring. This is a new card from the Lord of the Rings set that says at the beginning of upkeep, the ring tempts you. And then whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life if you do draw legendary creatures and give them ward, and then non-legendary creatures get +1/+1. We're playing Folk Hero, which is a 2-mana enchantment that commander creatures you don't have. Whenever you cast a spell that shares a creature type with this creature, draw a card. This ability only triggers once per turn. Journey to Oblivion, because it becomes cheaper for each creature on our party, and then we can exile target non-land permanent and opponent's control as long as this remains on the battlefield. Level of Song in Night and Day allows token with flying that you can put a 1/1 counter up to 2 target creatures. So depending on how we feel, we could read ahead if we wanted to, or we can just start at level 1 to draw cards. Phyrexian Arena is to draw cards, and Taskia's Welcome is to draw cards. And as far as the mana base, it's pretty simple. We're playing Base Camp just because we can use it to play our party creatures. We have Path of Ancestry to scry if we do play a creature that shares a creature type with our commander. And I believe there's only one other land to talk about, and that is, no, there's actually 2. So Castle Lochwain, for 3, we can draw a card, and then we lose life equal to the number of cards in our hand. And then finally, we have Windbreast Heights, Hideaway 4. And then we look at the top 4, we put a card underneath this, the rest go on the bottom in a random order. And then for 1 white, you may pay the exile card if you attack with 3 or more creatures. So that is the deck in a nutshell. We curve out at 2, so we can start doing things very early. And that's about it. So this deck is relatively cheap. It's going to cost you anywhere between $160 to $165. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It will be uploaded to YouTube shortly with all my social media links. If you like my content, please subscribe to me because it will help me out tremendously and give me the motivation to continue to do this type of content almost every day or every other day. Also, I must say I am going to be shouting out in the description in a YouTube video one of my friends' channels. They are very nice, and you will learn about their channel in a description with a link to their channel if you are interested in the type of content that they do as well. Have a good night and take care.